and challenges. My name is Kadista Selassie Nagatu, but Kiki in short. I'm a member of staff in WAND UK, and WAND UK stands for Women Association Networking Development. We are working in excluded community, empowering women to become agents for their own challenge. A few of the services we offer are one-to-one support session. We are multilingual, multi-cultural. We have a community program distributing food on Wednesdays in a venture center, which is located in Ladbroke Grove. We do virtual or online dance. We do virtual or online yoga for adults and for children. We're going to start soon cooking lesson. We have young girls project. We do reflexology and massages, and we do trainings, a lot of trainings, which some of them are empowerment, equality and diversity, first aid, pediatric first aid, nutrition awareness, diet and nutrition, food hygiene, health and safety, safeguarding, time management, so many. You can visit our website, which is www.wanduk.org, and you can find so much about WAND UK. And now I'm introducing you. I'm honored to introduce you our chair, Patrice Wellesley Cole. To give you a little bit of background, Patrice is a human rights lawyer. She's a former London Tribunal judge, and in the immediate past, she's the president of the British Federation for Women Graduates, BFWG. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, KK. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we do.
You can. Good morning, good afternoon,
Good morning.
and a warm welcome to everybody to our WAND Black History Month celebration panel discussion on Black women in politics, achievements and challenges. This is a very important event, and we're honoured to have 4 London councillors, all Black women. Yes. Just a bit of digital housekeeping. This event will be recorded. We will be on mute most of the time. And if you want to put in any chat in the chat box, please put in your name and organisation. As I've said, we're delighted to have with us 4 London councillors, ladies who are all trailblazers. We do have one apology from Councillor Portia Thaxter. We can now look forward to all their presentations and strategic advocacy in a changing world. Our first presentation is from Councillor Nadia Nile. She is a Labour councillor and represents Colville Ward in Kensington and Chelsea. She is a lead member for Family and Children's Services, a lawyer, human rights advocate, translator, volunteer, and campaigner. So if I now give the floor to Councillor Nail, if I could just say, we'll hear all the councillors, and then at the end there will be questions and answers. So if I now hand over to Councillor Nadia Nail. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for the nice presentation. Thank you for having me to celebrate the Black History Month. And I'm very honored to be asked to talk about my personal journey into politics as a Black woman in politics and what we can achieve in future. First of all, I would like to commend your organization, One UK, for reaching out to our communities in Kensington and distributing food and running all these virtual classes. My thanks extend to your staff and volunteers for the incredible job they did during a very difficult circumstances. What I would like to say first, I'm originally from Sudan, and I came here as a political refugee. I am involved in politics, and we did have a very extreme Muslim regime. So I applied for asylum, and I arrived here in 1991. And I've lived nearly 30 years in North Kensington. When I've arrived, I volunteered and worked for different organizations, local resident associations, teachers associations, and different organizations. And that's helped me with the integration, with understanding the British culture, accept it and respect it, as well as learning from it. And it really helps me to integrate very well into society. I'm always involved in politics in my country, fighting for democracy, social justice, and protection of human rights. So it's very natural for me to join the Labour Party, which is, to me, it's a movement built on equality and social justice, and it built built to create a better and fair society. Then I've decided to stand as a councillor. I did it in 2018, and I've won the election. I felt very honored and privileged to part of the local government in RBKC, Colville residents. And that's what very helpful in having a voice to communities that be excluded, because I felt there is a lack of representation from ethnic minority, especially women. The challenge for me here is about empowering our communities and removing the barriers that does allow them to get involved, as well as educating them and supporting them, as well as helping them to be aware of their rights, and encouraging them as well to participate in politics, as it does make change to their lives. As the lead member for family and children services for the opposition, I was so proud that RBKC decided to provide free school meal for children during half term, which is something very much appreciated. We do have children living in poverty in our borough, and families who are struggling, and it's a very difficult circumstances now with the national crisis we are experiencing. The fact for me, we're living in a very unequal society, and we a very hostile environment. We saw the treatment for people from the Windrush generation. We've seen that the treatment to asylum seekers, which people who just try to find a safer place, running from war or disasters, and even children not allowed now to join their families here. So we live in a very difficult society, and we need to fight against equality and prejudice. And I'm happy to receive any questions. So that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Nail. We are now going to hear from our next councillor, Councillor Rakia Ishmael, who's an independent from Islington. Councillor Ishmael was the first councillor of Somali origin. She is a community activist, a fashion designer, a campaigner for youth crime and inequality. She was Mayor of Islington and has had many awards, including being winner Portrait of Britain National Award UK 2020. I'd now like to give the floor to Councillor Rakia Ishmael.
Hello, Bismillah. I greet you in the name of Allah all, and thank you so much for that warm introduction, Patricia. I don't and familiarize some, but it's good. Thank you so much. And I would like to really first, before I go into anything, say huge, huge, huge thank you to Gladys Sharif. Gladys has been someone I have known for a very long time, and someone who has helped me through thick and thin. To the first day even I was being elected, she was by my side at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'd like to say huge thank you. And of course, say huge thank you to, for one, inviting us here this morning and to discuss about uh, achievements and challenge of Black women in England. It's a huge honor for me to be here with all of you and with such a great experience and distinguished achievements, many of you. I have I've came to England almost 30 plus anyway, yes. And similar to the last experience, my family background was very involved in politics. I nearly lost for my dad in politics, but have lost brothers and uncles in politics in Somalia, known in the past, but at the moment, it is Somalia and Somaliland. So I'm originally from Somaliland. So some of you may understand the background of Somaliland. And when I came into England, I was very young and I was eager to learn and, you know, get into career. And I decided to go into fashion and textile design at the London College of Printing and London College of Fashion. And it was an area that really kept me busy because I was very, very interested in fashion at a very, very young age. I grew up in earlier life as well in the UAE. So fashion was very much alive there. So for me, coming into England and study about fashion, textile design, and shoemaking was something that was just so close to my heart. And something also, to be honest, I thought when I go back to Somaliland after the civil war, maybe it's an area that I can help with young people to get education. However, it hasn't been all that smooth. So I have graduated and when I graduated, I was pregnant with my first child. Few days after I graduated, I had my first daughter, and then I went into the fashion industry for a little while and realized that's not a place actually to bring a child personally for my own personal needs. So I enter into community activities and start going to local under five centers, teaching women arts and craft, working in schools, all volunteering, by the way, because I came from a different world. So I needed to learn about local issues, local matters. So I start volunteering for local under fives, I start volunteering for schools, I start volunteering for community groups. And from there, I decided to set up an organization called Back to Basic Create, which basically teaches women arts, craft, and design, because often I used to get together lots of women. Trying to teach English was really not easy language, and even got other teachers to teach. And I realized, I just don't want to teach Somali women alone. I want to really integrate Somali women and make it more community cohesion. I got Asian women, Arab women, other African women, including British women, so they can all have one common theme, which is English, but also they will have all one common theme to learn art, craft, and as well sewing. And I think that really hit quite a high note. And before I know what I have been working in museums, delivering projects. And some of our work has traveled up, down the country, including some we found out we had a project at Craft Council in England, which actually traveled up down the country and somehow discover some of our work in the Museum of Design in New York, all widening participation. So I've worked with lots of universities, lots of different groups, and then somehow I was, as well as I was community activist, I wanted to really see different delivery for local people in Islington. And I set up an organization. After the organization, I was often questioning far too many questions that was not being answered. And somehow I end up in politics. And I've been in politics now part of a decade now, you know, being active and as well a councillor almost 9 years. And that really got me involved in politics. I have, of course, faced lots of difficult issues because I'm quite persistent. Nothing is good enough for my community sometimes, so it can be, some councillors used to face quite difficulties. They still do anyway, though I'm a councillor. So what happens is the challenges I face, it was, I suppose, lots of people talk about the achievements, but for me, it's the challenges that I face are my achievements, because that's what crosses you the road. That's where you are persistent, because I believe in a way that fairness should be embedded into the heart of the society. And sometimes, unfortunately, it's not. And that's why I became a councillor. I have campaigned on many issues, which I have done quite successfully, and I'm quite proud at the same time as well. And of course, I have been bringing up a young family of 4 children through my community activism and through being a local politician. So the beauty of being a councillor is actually to pick issues, local issues, and you have to be, you know, quite observant. And when I talk about issues, often people will stick on one area. You have to look at the wider sense. I'm a Black, I'm a Muslim, quite visible Muslim, ethnic minority, and often I like to advocate for people who are in the heart of our society that don't have sometimes the privilege I have and the voice I have. And I think that's the most important thing of being a counselor is actually we are the servants of our community. And I think it's that brings us together and give us a clear social justice to the many, many voiceless communities that we all come from, that we all live with side by side. And I think it's that beauty that makes the change. At the moment, globally, we are facing many, many challenges. And of course, we are facing locally similar and nationally similar. And the best thing in life for me is that it's what I can give it to people, not what I can get out. And often that's the beauty, is like you have to, as a Muslim woman as well, for me, it's the giving part that gives me the achievement, the pleasure that I feel when I wake up in the morning, I think like, okay, X and Y, and said I have to do it and to achieve it. Of course, we face barriers, and I have faced many barriers, but the beauty is that you have to be, if you believe in social justice in its right sense, is you have to be, if you believe it, you have to be persistent. And being persistent, someone will give up whatever obstacles they have put you, that barrier will be broken. And I think that's the beauty. And I want to also add, when I first got selected in Islington, I only had one vote against the other person, and that vote has made the difference. And when I was elected, I had 57% of the vote, and that 57% of the vote is not something that just has come and people liked me. It's because it's the community activism that I was doing prior to being a councillor, prior to being a candidate. And I think we have to all think about before we enter into politics is we need to become school governors, we need to become part of the resident tenant associations, we need to be involved in every sense of the word. Otherwise, by the time you become a councillor, you have no clue and you're not going to learn as much because you are already a policymaker. But
Councillor, sorry, Councillor, I have to intervene. We need to move on. If I could ask you please to finish off, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And as a as a policymaker, we need to know the issues in the community. And last thing is, I remember very clear. I'm going to repeat it again, and that's my conclusion: is that the day I was getting elected, Gladys came and helped me, and it's why I'm here today. And thank you so much for all the great things you do, and all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a fascinating insight, Councillor.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, our next speaker is Councillor Rita Begum, who is the Labour councillor from Westminster. She was the first and only BAME councillor taking the ward completely in 2018. She is the director of the Paddington Youth Enterprise and has worked alongside Grenfell survivors and volunteered during the disaster. I now give the floor to Councillor Rita Begum. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you for your well and really welcoming speech and amazing word that you have said about all of us. It's been great listening to every one of my colleagues who have so much contributed on so many ways in their own boroughs. And I am so honoured to be a part of today's event. Thank you so much, Juan, for actually giving me the opportunity and to be here. I'm actually a GLA candidate for West Central as well for May 2021. So you will know I'm standing Mayor of London in West Central, and I'm looking forward to be campaigning along with everyone and getting all your supports as well. What I'd like to say, I'm actually, when I first came to this country, I was only over, I came as I came to primary school not speaking a word of English. Soon I found out that I have to speak English in order to communicate with other colleagues and everyone. I learned to advocate on behalf of my family and others in the community to help them with welfare benefit, housing application, and but you can't fix everything in life. I was inspired by one woman, which is you must all know, is Karen Buck. She's the MP for Westminster North. First time when I met her was on she was just walking past. My dad said, "This is your MP," and she gave me a hug, and I was like, "MP? What is an MP?" As an 18-year-old, you don't understand that time when your first time voting. How do we know what voting and election is about? My dad said, "She's a wonderful woman. You can go to her door anytime. She'll help you." When she gave me a hug, it just shows I thought this is really interesting. She's a white woman and she's just hugging me. So I thought, this is it. She won me over. I thought I have to go and support her. Coming from a BME background, we struggle every day of our life. Every time we're out there talking to people, we are always cast as a second-class citizen. We're not, never put, doesn't matter what we do, what contribution we make, we're always going to be the second class. That's what we find. It's been a struggle. Being in Westminster all my life, living in Westminster, when I stood 14 to be elected in Mayor Ward, I stood against in a Tory ward, which was my friend, family, everyone said, "Oh, you can never win this because this is a Tory ward, you'll never win it." I was against an old society where it's known to be never a Labour. So I proved it wrong. I have taken a Tory ward and I have done it. And, I worked hard for 3 years, over 3 years, and every single day I knocked on the door, made sure every single person knew who I was. When I was knocking on the door, people said, why should we vote for you? I said to them, have you voted for me? Ask me that in 3 years' time when I come back to you. Then I could say to you what I have done, because I haven't done anything. You haven't elected me. So I can't do anything right now. When you do elect me, then I come back and say to you, my ward was very hard. 20 years being a Tory ward. There was a councillor there who thought she'll never lose because she's the person. She actually thought she actually created the road. She's spending money from her own pocket. Not really, it's from the ward budget. The money comes from the ward budget. And she kept on saying, oh, this is mine, this is mine. But thanks to Allah and everyone that supported me, and I campaigned so hard, I got in 2014, made history for Labour. And in 2018, I've taken the whole ward, thanks to all the hard work I've put in myself over 3-4 years. And then I managed to get 2 other colleagues elected. So that was a great achievement. 2018 has been forever. I always campaign. I listen to people. My campaign is by talking to people, understanding what their needs is. Working in a community center for over 20 years, helped set up many charity organizations, helped with children's adult services, Age UK, Carers Network, many of them, and worked along with Gladys on many events, and been with her on so many charity organization as well. And I've known Gladys for many years. So all this contribution has actually paid off. I can make a difference. I know that I could be the voice of people. Listen to, take it on board, make sure that voice, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to represent people, be a representative, and also like to inspire people as well. Like I have inspired not my own ethnicity, but people from back. I have had 2-3 colleagues from different boroughs and from my own borough, Maggie Carmen, who actually thinks I'm inspiring. She actually 2018 and got elected in Bayswater. I have another colleague who actually was a colleague member of, his name is Dan Anderson, and he actually is a councillor in Harrow in the Hill. Because I pushed him and actually, inspired him, he actually stood first time and they won the whole ward. This is what I like doing. I believe just coming from my own background, but from other background, help them to go further and beyond. So that's what we're supposed to do. As a counsellor, I'm always looking to, talk to people. If people want me to go around and have a chat, I'm always available. I give my personal number out a lot of time to colleagues, to friends, to people I met on the street. I say, you can call me. Don't worry, you can call me anytime. That's how it's supposed to be. As advocate for the community, you need to be available. You need to be there, listening, be around. Make sure you can be a voice to them, voice to the voiceless. That's what I believe in. And Black History Month is the month that we need to make sure that people here knows us, knows about our heritage, knows about the people that actually made a difference in the community and made contribution to make our life better. Coming from a BME background, it's not easy, it's always hard, and it's always struggle. We have to strive to create a positive environment where we live and what we do. And even if that means like finding a job, even getting elected is very difficult. Sometimes even being a candidate in GLA was very difficult to get selected. I had to fight hard, even harder than any other candidate, because who I am, what my ethnicity is. We have to work twice as hard. So putting someone else in that position, they probably don't have to work as hard as we do, but because we work background, and we have to always keep on proving ourselves and show to the people that we can do it, we can make a difference, we could be the person that they want us to be, and we could work as much harder than the person they are supposed to be voting for. So here I am now telling you that hopefully next year, my election is on 2021 with the Mayor of London and West Central, which haven't been won before. It's been for the last 20 years a Tory seat, and I'm hoping to make a difference, which I did in Maida Vale, and I know I can do it again, proven my track record. I know I believe in myself, and I want you guys to believe as well that I could do it. As a be a me person. We can do what we want to do. It just, we need help, we need support, we need your help, and we need you to be understanding us, and please be with us. And I know as the community, you guys are always supporting us. Please, please do support me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that fascinating talk, Councillor Begum. We wish you the best of luck for the GNA run. Our last and next speaker is Councillor Walla Idris. She is Conservative in the borough of Kensington and Chelsea. Councillor Idris is a property consultant and psychology graduate. She's German-born, originally Sudanese. I now have great pleasure in handing you over to Councillor Idris. Councillor Idris.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, everyone. And it's so lovely to see everyone in this grey morning. I am freezing over here, hence the wrap. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is a real honor and a huge pleasure to be amongst these wonderful ladies with all their achievements and their lovely stories. And I think a lot of the stories are just not just achievement; they're more inspirational, and they're empowering to a lot of young people. And I hope there are young people in the audience who can see all these what lovely women done and just take inspiration from it. As the chair said, I was born in Germany to Sudanese parents, but I was raised in the Sudan. I was very fortunate. I was raised in a Muslim household, and I'm a Muslim, not a devout one, but I am. And but I also had my formative education in a missionary school. I was taught by Italian nuns. So I had the pleasure of interacting, and from the very beginning of my life, even though in a country where the rest of the country is predominantly Muslim, I was interacting and integrating with people who are not of my faith, and a lot of people who are not even from the country. My education took me to the States. So I had my psychology and sociology degree from Indiana University, and there I pledged a sorority. Happens to be the same sorority Kamala Harris is a member of. That's just a little name drop. But it taught me a lot, traveling and being on my own, being away from my family, not having that the people to just fall back on when you need stuff, having to make decisions on my own. I think it is the reason I am the person I am today. I went back to the Sudan and did what every good Sudanese girl at my age would do, got married, and then had my first child. And then I decided that's not working so well. So got pregnant again a second time and packed up my stuff and came to the UK. And that was in 1991. So I've been in this country for almost 30 years. I came here 6 months pregnant with my youngest, and it was a little bit challenging, but I was very fortunate. My father was already here, so it wasn't as bad, but it still it had its challenges. After a couple of years, I decided I need to integrate into the way of life, of the British life. And I did a few courses, and if it was a school governor for the school my eldest daughter was in, but that wasn't enough for me. I wanted to meet a broader spectrum, and I just wanted to know and learn about the British way of life, because I was fortunate enough to live in the States for about 5 years, but I'd never really lived in the UK for any length of time to speak of until then. So what I did is I became a shop girl for Marks and Spencer's, and I thought Marks and Spencer's is the quintessentially British institution. So, and if you go to M&S, you will work with Brits, and you will, serve Brits, and you will be at the heart of it. And it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot of things, and I've learned a lot of stuff about myself too. And then after that, after I achieved that, and I had that satisfaction, I decided I need to be a little bit more involved in politics. Now, fast forward to 2002. Um, 2001. 2001 is when my papers, I came into this country on independence means, which is, where you have to show how much money you can bring in before you come in, type of thing. So I did that, but that, whatever money you have to bring in, if you don't build on it, it's gonna go. And I had to do something. And so that's when the working and the, coming out and working for a company and setting up my own business later on and consultancy and all that things. But then during all that time, I am very political internally, even though I grew in an autocracy. Sudan, up to that time, up to today, actually, if I'm being perfectly honest, is an autocratic regime where, someone will overthrow someone and take over. And that's about it. Um, so I decided I needed to be integrated into the political way of life, and so I went to the Conservative Association office and signed up, became an activist, and a door, and a paid up member, and started helping in elections, started leafleting, and did all the things you do, and working a lot parallelly. Became a trustee after that, and then became a member of the TMO. And so things evolved and developed. And in 2006, that's another name drop coming. So wait for it. David Cameron asked me to become an MP, and I'm like, wow, MP. I don't know the first thing about becoming an MP, but it was at that time, I don't know if you remember, there was a drive about, having an A list and having, so anyways, cut long story short, I went into that route for a little bit. And if I'm being perfectly honest, it didn't sit well with me in the sense that I felt, the more I shadowed a number of MPs and I worked in a number of projects, and I actually produced a couple of papers, but I realized I am more of a grounds person, and I am more comfortable working on the ground, as close to the community as possible. Even making policies on a smaller scale as opposed to making big, large policies and there is a lot of politics in politics, if you know what I mean. And for me, and at that time, my kids were still fairly youngish. I have two daughters, and I am a very hands-on parent. The single parent, you're trying to kind of compromise and fill in the gaps. So I didn't want anything to take me away from them. I didn't want anything to put any strengths or stress on them. So I went through the motion, got on the candidates list, didn't get selected, but got a lot of seconds, never really got the first. And after that, I decided I really need to focus on becoming a counselor. I accidentally missed the election for 2014. It was my fault. My application went in late. And in 2018, I became elected for Brompton and Handstown, my absolute beautiful ward. I love it to bits. And I think it's a fantastic, and it gives me a lot of joy and pride. I don't want to talk too much because I want to give everybody an opportunity to actually ask me what they want to know about me and what they want me to answer for them. So that will be me finishing. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Councillor, that was a most insightful talk. Thank you so much for that. Now, as you say, we're going to go on to questions now. We have some questions already sent in, which I think have been put up. So what I will do, I will read out the first question and then ask each councillor in turn very briefly what their boroughs are doing about it. The first question, can you all hear me? I hope so. The first question is, do you as councillors run initiatives or programmes for young BAME residents to get them involved in politics and decision making at local and national government level in future? And that is from Rashida, Westminster resident. If I could first ask Councillor Nail. Is Councillor Nail there? Councillor Nadia, yes.
Yes,
Do
it
you
just
run
takes time.
initiatives? Yes.
Yeah. The fact is there are a lot of organizations and communities, organizations who run their own youth programs. And we will be happy to be invited to talk to them about politics and involvement in politics within the council. And we need all the communities to be integrated and not isolated. As councillors, we work in our ward, and you directly work with your residents there, the youth there, the young people, all the people. And for me, particularly in Colville ward, I lead member for families and children within the council. And my main priority during this COVID-19 time, make sure that every family received digital devices, have access to internet, because they're learning. We don't want them to miss out on it, as well as receiving all the free school lunch during August and now during break. Yeah. But initiative like that is being generated by community leaders. Helpful for us to come and speak about our experience and what we're doing with the council, what kind of policies we asking for, what kind of activities we demand for our young people, youth and children. And so that will be more supportive for us, because we're doing a lot of work with our residents directly, supporting them with their housing problems, education problems, problems, any kind of issues they come up with. Right. And so it's not impossible, but community leaders, actually, if they took a lead role in that, that will be very helpful. Yes. Organizations.
Right, thank you. Can I ask the first question also to Councillor Ishmael? Does Islington run any initiatives? Sorry, you need to be unmuted, yes. Oh, we can't hear her.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, yes.
Thank you so much for asking this question, and the young person put forward to this question. I think this is really a key question, and it's so important that initiative like training, awareness, education around becoming a local representative is a key to our lives and key to the future generation. However, in Islington, we do not run such, but we do have youth councillors, which is really important. But of course, that's youth councillors. But I can say myself personally, what I have done in the past, I have put a pack for young people and particularly young women, how to become a councillor, how to be involved at grassroots levels with organizations before you come to politics. Because to be honest, to come into politics before you've done your grassroots, I think you are going to be a small fish. Is it a small fish in a big sea? You're going to be totally lost. And politics is not kind. Anyone who tells you politics is kind or is for the faint-hearted, you're kidding yourself. So I think it's so important. We should run. I do myself, and I'm actually talking to a number of other councillors. And if the councillors right here in this platform would join me, it would be fantastic, because the worst thing that could happen to people is how politics is in the boardroom. I have faced many challenges, and I certainly do not want a young person of 20-something to face, because as an experienced, grown woman of teenager children and young adults, you don't want your children or someone else's children to go into politics blindfoldedly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to move on to the next two questions and combine them, if you don't mind. And it's, during your career as a councillor, what has been the attitude of men towards you? That is from Mary Conte, a Westminster resident. And the other one, an interesting one, what has been the worst day and the best day in your life as a councillor? That's from Caddy Sisse, Islington resident. If I ask Councillor Rita Begum that question, so I've combined them, so you might be able to, because you've told us quite a bit about your challenges.
Yes, the best thing would be when your resident come back and say to you that you have managed to resolve the problem. If it's to do with homeless or anything, if it's like the food bank issues we have at the moment in Westminster. Although everyone thinks Westminster's the only, most high, only borough in the UK, top boroughs, and we don't have food bank issues. We do. We have food bank. We have people that need food. And I've been able to manage and take food to a lot of residents. So when I actually deliver food on their door, the smile that you see on their face, that gives you the satisfaction that you've done something amazing. When you have managed to feed 10 people or 5 people, even if it's one person coming to you, the satisfaction is the reward that we get as counsellors. And men's, what do I say about men's? They look at you, and that's it. If they if you go for a job, doesn't matter what you are, they look at your face and they look at your nationality, and first thing is the looks that they see. That's what they kind of like you by. So they might not give you the job that you want, but they might want something else in back, because they have sort of a lot of things in their mind. I think a lot of time I find is men's wants to take over. They like to be in control. They don't want to give the women the authority to be in their pants. They think that as being a BME woman, they don't want you to on the be the one that in charge of everything. They think if you're taking in charge, it's going to be taken from a basic minority person. That's not it. So that's the attitude that I think my internet saying is bad.
Yes, it's a bit. Yes, it seems to be going on and off a little, Councillor Begum. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah. As a mother of 4 children, I got 2 children attending uni, and I got 2 younger ones, one attending secondary school, one's going to primary school. Juggling time. We have to put our children first and then try to juggle with other stuff. Politics. It's very difficult. I don't want to say it's easy. It's not been easy. No, difficult because you have to take things on your board and take on things that matters to you. And I enjoy it. It's not a bad job. You enjoy it as well. It is rewarding. It's giving and taking. So it's just you have to go with the flow and help as give you whatever you can. I try 100% at whatever I can do. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, I'm going to ask Councillor Nadia, Councillor Wally Idris, the same questions. What has been the attitude of men towards you, and what has been the worst and best day of your life as a councillor? Councillor Idris, what would you say about that?
Thank you for the question. I'm going to go backwards. The worst day, I can't say, but the best day of my life is, as Rita said, when a resident stops you in the street and say thank you for doing this or thank you for doing that, and we're very grateful for all you do. And that is because that's what I got into this business for. I became a counselor to actually help others and make others' life easier and give back to my community for all they gave to me. So that's the bit. As for men, I honestly don't think about it. I don't think about what men think until they stand there and tell me what they think, and then I respond. I don't take up too much time of my life wondering what men think about me. They think what they think, and if they speak it out, then I'll deal with it then.
Can I quickly say something about men, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Councillor Ismail.
I mean, I could add all the, comments my colleague said about best days.
Yes,
but the one thing about men is, to be honest, for me personally, on a personal, as an African Black Muslim woman, to be honest, there's 2 types of men for me in my life. It's those that I work with, whatever form, shape, that will always block your opportunities. And that's the difficulty of men. But the beauty of, community groups, family, friends, any sorts of men I come across in everyday setting, they always embrace the work I do. And I think it's more to do with work, the obstacles when it comes to men, than it is to do with in general terms. So for me, I think men are quite good, and I've never had problems. Thank you so much. But when it comes to work, it's a different kettle of fish. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, again, we've got two other interesting questions, but I'm going to combine them because I think they're interlinked. And it's probably quite a short answer. The first one is, are there legal requirements or restrictions that will prevent an individual from becoming a counsellor? That's from KK, who's our administrator, and she's a resident of Kensington and Chelsea. The next one is, as a counsellor, do I have to represent a political party or can I be independent? So I'll start first with Councillor Nail. I imagine they're quite short
Thank you.
answers.
Hi.
Yes.
I never get the chance to answer the past two questions about.
Do you want to answer those? Yes.
Yeah, of course, you will feel very happy when your residents get the results you want. I've fighted for a lot of families to receive digital devices for their families, and they were very pleased and send pictures and say, now our children can access their land.
Yes.
Or you find a family you help in a situation of overcrowding and health issues to move to other property. So there are always these moments, it makes you feel that you're doing a job by representing them in a very strong way and their case and succeed. The other thing I find that some men are very patronizing because when they talk with you, I've received it in some messages as a woman and Black woman, so they underestimate your knowledge, your experience, and as my colleague earlier said, because you always expected to work as twice as hard to brave yourself. So I find some messages are very patronizing, and I respond to it in a way that that.
And what about your best and worst day, or is that interlinked, Councillor Nail? When people tell you how much you've done for them, that's probably a good day, is it?
Absolutely.
Yes, it must be. You must feel very satisfied.
And it really helps so much.
Yes. All right. Now, I want to move on. Yes. Sorry. Is there anything else you'd like to add about that? Your best and your worst day?
No, thanks. But
no. All right. Can I move on to this? Is quite an important question because KK wants to know: are there legal requirements or restrictions that will prevent an individual from becoming a counsellor? That's the first thing. And secondly, as a counsellor, do you have to represent a political party or can they be independent? Now, Councillor Nadia, do you want to just answer that briefly? I mean, legal requirements or restrictions, what are they that will prevent you from becoming a councillor?
There are no restriction for you as a member of the community, unless if it's could be criminal record or something.
Well, yes, the obvious, I suppose, yes.
Yeah, this is obvious, but other thing, you can stand as independent.
You can, yes, because I mean, Councillor Rattler, you're an independent now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am indeed.
Yes, I noticed that, and you're originally Labour, is that correct?
Yes, I was indeed.
Yes. So in other words, you can stand as an independent, is that the position?
Yeah, one can, of course, stand as an independent. It's a lot of more hard work, actually, to be an independent, especially when it comes to campaigns, and that's a road that I have to wait. But I have seen people who have been independent, and it is a hard road. But it's good also because you have a political view that none of the parties represent, maybe. So I think that's important. In terms of legal requirement, I think, of course, as Sister Nadia said, criminal record is a big thing. But before you go into even criminal record, because that's further down the road, is you need to be paying all your council tax, because if you have not paid your council tax, there's no way you can become a councillor, or your rent arrears or any of issues that involves with the council. So I think that's a key issue. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Now we'll move on to the next question, because I think this is something that concerns us all as Black women. It is, and you'll have seen it up, as a councillor. No, sorry, it's what provisions are councils putting in place to monitor if ethnic minorities are treated equally and fairly in relation to housing allocation to ensure that there is no discrimination? And that question is from Asha, who's a Croydon resident. And I'm going to ask Councillor Begum first. What's the position in Westminster? And I'll go around the boroughs. So this is really about discrimination in housing. And if there's a fair allocation, what do you have to say about that?
Depends on the, because Westminster is point-based systems they have.
It's what, sorry?
That's how they. Oh, it's a point-based. So
it's
if they are waiting on a
right.
waiting, it's point-based, yeah. So if they're waiting, depends on how many years they've been waiting. I think if they change, if they go into employment, they get extra 50 points get added on. So it depends on what criteria and how many bedrooms they're waiting for. If it's a 2-bed they're waiting for, if their points goes up to 200, I believe they are allocated to 2-bedroom flat. So that's how it is. And mobility issue, if they got disability issues, things like that, so that doctors, medical reports, all that's taken into consideration. Ethnicity or anything like that is fairly done. It's actually done on their point-based system, and their whatever their things situations, knowing their situation. That's how it is done. And as our local councillors, we are actually support that. So that if some resident come to us saying they're overcrowded, they got health issues, they got condensation, actually provide letter of support as well. Local MP as well get letter of support as well. Karen Buck is always fighting case on their behalf as well. So there is that sort of help as well. So they get help from the members of parliament, they get help from the councillors. So there is a lot of help that they can get as individuals. It's not to do with their ethnicity.
It's not to do that. That's fine. If I can ask Councillor, sorry, yes.
First question, we do have as Westminster first ever young BME councillor got elected in 2018.
Okay, what's her name?
In Queen's Park Ward, and it's Hamza. It's a guy. It's a young guy.
Hamza. It's called Hamza. Okay.
Hamza Tozali, that's his name. He comes from Moroccan background, and he was the young person elected in Westminster City Council. And I don't think any other borough is younger as him. He was only 18 when he got elected.
That's excellent.
So it's been 2 years, 20.
Fine. Thank
so
you.
I thought I should mention that. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
If I can ask Councillor Rakia Ishmael about the position in your borough, Islington, with housing and discrimination. Is it done on the points-based system as well, or?
Indeed, it is a point-based system, which is quite really straightforward.
Excuse me.
Occasionally, people may get annoyed about, they have not been given the right allocation, but really it is, in a nutshell, it's the fairest possible way one can get housing is point-based, and it's quite straightforward.
Lovely, thank you. What is that the position, Councillor Nadia, in your borough?
Exactly, it's the same.
Exactly, is it? And Councillor Idris, is that the position?
Yeah.
It is, so it's all points-based.
Yeah, it is a point-based. And by the way, Nadia and I are on the same council.
Well, that's what I thought, yes, so I don't need to...
Same council,
You're both Kensington and Chelsea, aren't you? Yes.
Yeah, but we're just on opposite sides of the...
Just on opposite sides, but you're friends.
Oh, yeah, we are lovely friends.
Yeah, I know, I can see that. Yes, okay, thank you. All right, now the next question is an interesting one. It's about COVID. And it reads that COVID has disrupted our lives. Have you thought of how to use green spaces to reduce loneliness and isolation? And that's from a Wand UK volunteer. And I'll start with Councillor Idris. What's your, well, I mean, you and Councillor Nadia from KNC. Well, I don't know if your boroughs have done anything about this. Is an interesting one about green spaces.
Well, actually, we have fought very, very, very hard, even during the harshest lockdown, to close any of our parks. And we kept the parks open. We just put a lot of notices for people to kind of self-distance and mind their spaces, so that a lot of older people and younger people, people of all ages, suffer from loneliness and isolation. And we're very concerned about that. We also introduced a new benches on the high street. I don't know if some of you have seen them on
I think I've seen them on television.
Yeah, and they are green benches. I am also a champion of pollination and pollinating, and I have a petition for that. So it's very, very important for me and vital that we have pollinators everywhere we can. I'm trying to plug my petition a little bit. So no, it's very, actually COVID have taught us a lot of things. with all the negative that came with COVID, there is a lot of positive that came out of the COVID. The community unity, the community spirit came out
Yeah,
in
yeah.
droves. And the ideas and the innovation in how to combat loneliness and isolation, how to engage with people, just to say hello to people and knock on your neighbor's door. I mean, some people never ever spoke to each other, did that. So yeah, so we did. We actually and we are I think we're one of the few who didn't stop people from going to the park. Actually, encourage people to go for walks and go to the park.
That's excellent. Thank you. Councillor Rakia, what's the position in Islington then? What have you done? Is it similar or different?
Thank you. The position in Islington, of course, we encourage social distance, and the park is the best place practicing social distance. We haven't had yet a green bench yet, but I think it's something to take to the council. I think it's very inspiring. As Walla said, that you know, COVID have come with a lot of negativities and downside to it, but at the same time, it's got its good use, and it's brought the community at large, from local faith forums to local community groups, resident associations, all helping out. I think COVID has brought us together closer than we ever were. And I think that's the beauty of, and you know, ignoring the downside to it, there's a beauty as well, because you often, and myself even, I have got elderly living by my side, and I have to kind of like wonder, have they opened their door? So I think that's important, you know, to take the negative with the positive as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And what about Councillor Begum? What's the position in Westminster? Is it similar to Islington and KNC, Kensington and Chelsea?
Yes, I'm actually a councillor in the most, you know, I have one of the most attractive park in my ward, is Paddington Rec, and which is have a track and everything in there. We have to keep it open.
This is a park.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, I think the audio is a bit difficult, but I think you said you kept the park open. Is that correct?
Yes, we have.
Yeah,
we have
right,
actually.
I did get that. Yeah,
the park open in my ward, which is called Paddington Rec, and people are allowed to go in there, exercise, dog exercises, everything.
Excellent.
It's a track. And it's been kept open, and we have managed to say to people, look, you can come and use the park. And people have been thanking me on the road when they see me on the street. If I'm passing by, they said, thank you so much for keeping that park open. This is what we needed during COVID. You know, if the park was closed, where would we go to exercise? Everything is closed. Gyms are not open. Nothing is, you know, open to us. We've been told that we have to book online if we want to exercise. So they, you know, this makes them so happy, and I feel happy. I feel proud when I go to the camp, when I could see the Paddington Rec, people are enjoying, kids are playing. I was there 2 days ago with my son. I could see everyone playing and enjoying. That's what makes me feel satisfied.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Councillor Nadia, do you want to add anything about your borough or not? As Councillor Idris said, and everything. She can't hear me. Yes, she's muted.
Yes,
I don't know if you want to add anything about this. Because,
no, she said it
she said everything
well.
About it.
That what we've been very proud of what our borough did for opening our green spaces.
No, that's excellent. Fine. Yeah. Thank you. Well, we've just got a little bit of time left for some questions in chat, and I think was it Faye had a question? Is Faye here? I don't know what Faye's question. Yes, Faye. I know you were very anxious to ask your question. What is it?
Thank you. Well, two things. I'm very proactive in WAND, and I'm in the minority today because I'm a white representative, but I'm very proactively involved in Westminster and by borough with my other charities and things. Just the question I want to raise, because we've got all the councillors, we've got human rights here represented and a judge. The changes that are happening now, and COVID has highlighted a problem that's been evident beforehand, is that the disparity between the older and the younger and the poverty-ridden group of residents in the boroughs, and I'm talking across the boroughs, their needs are not being met fairly. We're talking about the GLA. London's supposed to be age-friendly. We're dealing a lot in our various groups about the mission statements. If they stop the and add further restrictions, for example, to the bus privilege over 60 Oyster card, hospital appointments people can't get to, various procedures people can't get to. If they're targeting the young and the old, and I think it's really important, there's still a disparity. If you're part of the system and you're on universal credit, you're going to get your food parcels. How many older people are in pension poverty that are not on the list? And that's, I must say, one, they've been incredible in that way. They've taken cases rather than individuals, but the councillors do need to address this disparity that's going on. Regarding the youth, I think we need to go into the schools and to start introducing politics in a very nice, natural way, because they are the future. It's their generation that's going to be impacted by all that's going on at the moment. And we need to start with educating at the school people to make decisions and what politics is about. And it's not about parties, it's about your ability to contribute and to make a difference, and what your needs need to be. So I'm just feeling quite strongly about it. Large areas of Westminster are not being targeted. There is a huge draining of funds within Westminster. GP practices have closed. So when they do their statistics, it looks like certain boroughs are not many residents. Today, if we look at the thing, we've got a whole society in Fitzrovia, in Soho, we've got a Bangladeshi community. None of them are actually being represented. And I am part of the local account group as well in the council. So I've been very proactive. I think there's some very hardworking councillors and there's some very, very diligent work going on, but it's not cohesive in terms. Large cohorts of people are missing out at the moment, and I'm imploring all of you to assist one and to also assist the residents to bring some consistency to the areas that are not being targeted. Large areas of Kensington have pension poverty, have youth poverty, food deprivation. It's not just in North Kensington. I'm on the local residents association for Zebra, but I'm actually living in Fitzrovia at the moment, but I've still continued with that. And the youth, there's no youth clubs in our area. So how can you start having the mentoring that you need and the assistance that they need? So I'm just bringing it to you guys. There's still a huge amount of work that needs doing, and maybe we need your input to do that.
Thank you very much. I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that, because we've got one or two.
I just want to quickly comment because I literally need to go 2 minutes.
Yes, we're finishing. I'd just like to ask 2 more questions, but if you could just comment briefly on that, because it was more of a comment, wasn't it?
The sister mentioned,
what would you like to say?
I think what the sister mentioned, it's really important that we should take politics to local schools and primary, secondary, because politics, often people forget about politics. Politics is about issues, it's about people, it's about real people, it's about the future. And sometimes in politicians, it becomes a problem when it becomes a party politics, and we forget about the real issues and drive partisan agenda and priority. That is not the future. The future is about local people. Thank you so much, and I got to go.
Yes. Just two interesting questions. So we don't have too much time, but in chat we've had one question about community gardens for family and children.
Sorry, can I just add a small something to Faye? In my ward, what we did is I agree with you. A lot of people who automatically receive help and support older people are people who are already using either pension credit or on some kind of benefit.
Yes.
But what we did in our ward is we know who is old and frail, and we knocked on their doors and just inquired. And sometimes it's not inquired as saying, do you need food? It's just, do you need help? I'm going to the shops. Do you want me to pick something up for you? That type of thing. So we did that, all three of us. And,
right.
And
thank you. I'm going to have to combine these two questions for brief answers. One is on anti-racism and anti-sexism education in school curriculum. That's one. And the other is on community gardens, which is touched on for families and children. And that's Josiah Braithwaite, Queen's Park. I don't know if you'd briefly like to say anything about those two questions in response. If I start with Councillor Begum.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Yes,
can you
anti-racism and anti-sexism in the curriculum in schools education, and also community gardens for families and children in the Josiah Braithwaite community, Queen's Park. Just a quick response to those. I mean, if you have that in the curriculum.
in
your borough,
Park, I mean,
in
my
Westminster.
borough, in Westminster, they're
Yes.
in schools. They are teaching kids sexual education and about racism, and actually, most of the primary school, the secondary school. I'm actually, as a young mother as well, it's good for kids to have some knowledge, and in terms of racism as well, because if kids don't know what is called racism, what is not. They need to be taught. They need to be told that not to say things that could be offensive later in life, because they learn at a young age. When kids, they learn more. As they get older, it can get difficult to teach them. So, you know, it's better to start at a young age. As a parent of an 8-year-old, I'm always teaching, learning, you know, he's learning new things. He's always asking me questions about this. So what's this word means? What that means? So, you know, I could relate, you know, now he's in year 2020. He just turned 8 last month. I have to be more proactive. With my other children, I didn't have to be that, because they've passed that age, and they didn't ask me as questions as he does. So as a parent, you know, I'm always trying to teach him new things. And school is a better way of teaching, as being a counsellor as well, about politics as well, because I go to my local school and actually give talks on
Excellent, yes.
kids about being a counsellor, and tell them what I do and how I do it and how I represent my community and how I'm the advocate for my community. So that's the best place to start as well. They have counsellors, and this is what they need playground supervisors. They need children to look out for each other, who can tell them, say, okay, being the class counsellor, I'm actually in charge of that class.
Right, thank you. Can I just ask what the position is in Kensington and Chelsea with anti-racism, anti-sexism curriculum in the schools? I don't know if Councillor Nadia wants to ask that, or Councillor Idris, because you're both in the same borough. Do you know if that's a position? You have anti-racism, oh, they're both muted. Sorry, they can be unmuted. Yes, Councillor Nadia. Yeah. I'm just asking about anti-racism and anti-sexism education in the school curriculum. What is the position in your borough?
I understand there is a teaching about sexism and anti-racism, but still not in a wider sense as part of the curriculum, as some of the kind of organizations go to school and promote. But part of what Faye said, which is very good, excellent statement about our curriculum need to include teaching the British Empire, the Black history, teaching about history of colonization, teach about white privilege and white supremacy. Those all will fall into people understanding what racism is in our society. So we need to involve and make Black history a British history. So I think that's important. And the next point, I'm glad Faye raised it. There is a petition about the fares, the free travel fare for under 18 is very threatened, and over 60. I think.
Yes, I saw that. Yes, I think many people signed that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So so you mean the position for 60 plus, don't you? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, 60 plus and under 18, they both threatened by January, possibly that free tube and buses fare will be banned. So I think it's threatening to a lot of our communities who will not be able to afford paying for the transport, especially younger people. In our borough, there are them study in other schools, secondary schools in other boroughs. All the people, they shouldn't be denied having a free travel as it exists before. So that's
and what are you doing about it in your borough, Councillor Idris and Councillor Nadia? I mean, we know there's a petition. I mean, is it coming up in local government meetings or what?
We will bring it up. We have a lot of we've been bringing up first the internet access and computers and education and free school meals. And this will come up definitely in our discussion with the council to lobby the government to stop banning free travel. That's very important.
Yes. I see we had another question about TV license as well, but that's another issue.
Can I add?
Yes, sorry,
Nadia,
Councillor Idris, what
sorry.
would you like to say?
To Nadia, I would like also to add about racism and sexism. It is the schools have a role, yes, but I think the biggest role is in the home. It's
Yes.
the parents, because as a parent, I want to teach my kids my values. I don't want to leave it to some kind of a school teacher who might have a different opinion and might, I don't know, teach it in a different way. So I think we put a lot of pressure on schools and education, while I think as parents, it is our first responsibility to teach our kids what's right and what's wrong before we send them off to school.
Right. We were asked also about community gardens, but we've really touched on that, haven't we?
We do have a lot of allotments in different, and
Yes.
not in private residence, but a lot of the social housing we have in the borough have separate allotments, and a lot of people do their own gardening. And
Yes.
we have big allotments, and they are very beautiful. And I mean, some people literally subsidize their own vegetable basket weekly from their own gross, and they share it between themselves.
That's excellent. Yes.
Yeah,
Now, I'm conscious of the time, so we need to round up, ladies, unfortunately, because we've had so many fascinating questions. But I'm going to ask you very briefly about open air gyms and how can people approach you if they have a problem? Do you have surgeries? So what do you think about open air gyms? Are they in the parks?
We have a little kids open air gym in my ward in Wilshire Close, and I've seen a couple of them for adults in north of the borough, but I don't know, I don't have any details. But we all have surgeries, and if we don't do, I mean, if the surgeries are becoming difficult because sometimes face to face is not possible.
Right. Yes.
Just email us by email.
Email, all right. So if people want to contact their local council, they should email them because a lot of people have problems.
Yeah.
Right.
They can email or they can call our
Sorry?
member service numbers. We have a member service number on there, so they can on our website.
Okay.
They can call on that number, and we will definitely get back because there's a number
Right.
that's 0207.
All right. So there's a member service number or email.
Yeah.
I mean, that
So
should really be in the public domain.
Someone's always answering the phone, so they can leave a message for us, and we will definitely get back.
We'll be able to ring them. Fine.
And I'm still been doing face-to-face. I have a resident.
You're still doing face-to-face, are you? Sorry, it's the audio, yes.
I'm actually meeting up people in my ward, near my station. It could be near their house. I'll be doing some leaflet drops. I'll be meeting them there outside their house and say to them, look, I can meet you there. So even if it's for a few minutes, keeping our social distancing, chat to them what their issue is. Because sometimes they like to see you in person, and they like to say,
of course,
if it's for a few minutes, please, can I just meet up quickly? And can I just speak to you? And I'm like, yes, of course, I can meet you. Where would you like to meet? If it's in a cafe, we can meet in a local cafe. I have two well, my board. I have an outdoor gym as well, and we have a wonderful outdoor space in Paddington Rec to meet. I always tell them, encourage people to come there and meet me there, because we have a cafe area there that we can meet with social distancing.
This is what local democracy is all about, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
It is.
I don't know if Councillor Rakia would like to say anything. Sorry, we seem to have lost. Is Councillor Rakia here?
No, she's
anything
gone.
you'd like to add?
She's gone. She left.
Sorry? Oh, yes, you said you had to go. Well, thank you. Well, I think on that note, we need to end this session. And I'm now going to call on Mrs. Singh to give the vote of thanks. Mrs. Singh.
Thank you very much, Patrice. You've been most amazing and you conducted this beautifully. I will start with a very little something. It's a prayer for the whole world, which is, I'm from a Hindu background, and I will do this prayer and then I'll do the vote of thanks. So please listen. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tassavitur Vareniyam Bhargo De Vasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayate. So it is a prayer for the whole world. We do, it is called universal prayer. which is set for everybody in the world, especially in these difficult times. We have to do these prayers to keep us happy and healthy as the times are hard. And on behalf of the members of the Wand and Board of Trustees, I wish to thank the chair of the session, Patrice Veslico. You were the most amazing person. I think you kept your cool and you kept everybody under control. And I think you have got most charming smile. I do thank you from the bottom of my heart. It is very important to appreciate people, and I think appreciation comes from within your heart. And I will say that we had you and the chairperson. I thank everybody. I thank Nadia, Rakia, Rita, and Vala. With honestly, it has been an amazing day, amazing morning for all us women. We are the soul of the community. We have to work. And as far as I can gather, I think the children have to be taught from the very beginning, in my point of view. And I always think that if you start from the beginning, the child will learn all the good things. We all, as a community, wherever we may have come from, whatever our views are, we have to teach the children the best so they can accumulate other people in our life, regardless to your religion. And I think the first thing is humanity, which has to come from ourselves. Humanity comes first, in my point of view, and then comes our religion. I always think that beauty of the world is if we only think of each other once, and then we have to think of the second person next to us, and if we make them smile, that makes the world a better place. It is always nice to see, that in these beautiful times we had such a beautiful feedback from all the counselors. I really thank them all for coming and sparing their wonderful, precious time with us, and just enlightening us with their thoughts and with their processes, which is important. And I think, that also thanking everybody, we also think that you coming, all the boroughs are doing as much as possible. And I think that things are getting harder because of the COVID, which nobody was expecting it. It seems to be going on and on and on. It's okay. But last but not least, the most important thing, we thank you, all the people who have taken part in this, debate. And we all had shared each other's thoughts and processes. I thank you all from bottom of my heart, and I really appreciate your time and coming to meet us in Bonn. Thank you very much indeed. Well appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Much for having us.
Thank
I
you,
really
sir. Thank you for
appreciate
having me.
all that. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank
God
you.
bless you all.
Bless you too.
Bye-bye.